What's going on, everyone? Today we are building a DNA pass-through. This is an updated video. I have another video where we had built a DNA250 pass-through a while back. Several things have changed, so I thought it was time for an updated video. Biggest one being the enclosure. This is the new ABM-P-DNAC enclosure. A little smaller than the Hammond 1590As that I previously used for pass-throughs. This one's anodized silver. These are CNC machine, no lean, recessed 510. And something different that I did this time. I normally install the GX16 connector on the bottom for the power in to the mod. And this time I went on the back. The idea there was so the mod can stand up on its own. Another new thing, the cables, I mentioned this in the last video, the update video for the OKR T30, new cables for the pass-throughs. They've got a heat crimped GX16 on one end, because that's always what I use on the mod side. On the other end, you can wire different connectors depending on what you're using on the power supply, either another GX16 or a Speakon. These are 6 feet in length, but if you want a trotter, you can cut it to length, wire on the connector that matches your power supply. And these are a very flexible cable, which is important for the pass-throughs. So stick around and we're going to build this thing. First thing I'll do is drill the external board mounting holes on the enclosure. They're not pre-drilled because some people prefer the internal mount method where the board holder is epoxied on the inside, but I'm a big fan of the external mount, so I'll drill those holes. And another hole that isn't drilled is for the GX16 where the power comes into the mod. Now historically I've always put that on the bottom of the mod, but I'm trying something different today. I'm going to put it on the back over here. So it comes out this way. A lot of people asked for it there to be able to stand up the mod. I thought that there'd be too much tension on the cable and it would kind of maybe knock the mod over. But these new cables I have are super flexible, so we'll try that. We'll put the GX16 on the back here. So I'm going to drill the board mounting holes and the hole for the GX16. I'm going to do that off camera and I'll be right back. So we got that done. First thing, or what I'll do next, is I'll pre-wire the GX16 and the 510 connector. And the GX16s you've seen me use before were this type, where the nut goes on the flange is on the outside and the nut goes on the inside. But last time I bought some of these connectors, I got two types. I have one here where the flange is on the inside and the nut goes on the outside. I'm going to use this one. It sticks out kind of far even after the washer and nut will be on there. So I made a little spacer which will go inside on the flange so it doesn't stick out quite so far. I always use pins 1 and 2 for the positive. If you watched what I think was the last video, where the updated video for the OKRT30 mod, I'm going to do the same thing here with the connector. I'm going to jumper the two pins for positive and negative. And to make that easier to solder, I'm going to file a groove. If I could. There we go. I'm going to file a groove along the two negative pins and the two positive pins for that jumper wire to sit into. So that's done. I'll also tin the pins on the connector here. So when the board will be in here, the power in is on the bottom, and the positive will be towards the bottom of the enclosure. The negative will be towards the top. So I want my, let's see, positive on the bottom. So I want the connector in like this. And I think I'm going to send my wire down and then loop it to come hit the pads there. So I want the wire coming out this way. Now the 510. When I wire the 510, not sure if you can see, but I rest the iron against the brass of the connector here to make sure that heats up. So I rest the iron against the brass and against the wire, and then the solder just soaks into the hole there. Okay, I'll mount the board into the enclosure, and that'll let me place the components and measure the lengths of wires I need to come reach the board. Then I'll take the board out and we'll wire everything up. I won't bother with the screen right now. The 510 I'll loop I'm pushing the wires right down. I could go this short, but to give myself the most amount of slack, I'm pushing the wires down against the bottom of the enclosure. Now we'll cut and tin all of that. Let's get the board out of here. I'll add a bit more solder to all the pads on the board. That looks good. On the bottom here, now should just be a simple matter of putting the whole thing together. Oh, the screen. So I'll get the screen on and mount it into the board holder. Quick test before we put it in the board holder. Looks good. And the bend for the screen, I'm sure I've mentioned it, but send it under the board holder. That looks good. Let's get our actuators in here. Okay, let's get our GX16 in there. Now the trick here is I want the groove in the GX16 down just for aesthetics, and hopefully I want the nut to end up either flat or flat with the edges. Careful not to rest the socket onto the anodized finish. And I've already gone past with that groove. That's pretty close. Now for that 510. So that went together very well. I'll need to connect it to eScribe, switch it to power supply mode, and I'll be back and we'll give it a try. All right, all configured in eScribe. I'm pretty pleased with the internals. Let's get our lid on there. That looks great. Let's give it a shot. And in fact, first test, let's So it does stand up, but this is what I meant by you kind of have to have the cable laid out right. This isn't one of the new flexible ones. Maybe it would be better with those. But yeah, it stands up on its own. That's great. So recap then. A DNA250c Passthrough mod in the new CNC milled ABM-P, P for pass-through, the P-DNAC enclosure. Went with the black actuators. And something new we did, we mounted the GX16 on the back of the mod here to be able to stand it up. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.